It's time for Recipe of the Day. Here we are 2 days before Thanksgiving, and I don't know about you, but when I'm getting ready for a big dinner like the one coming up, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of stuff that I'm prepping. There's a lot in my fridge. And then, a regular weeknight is here like today, and I'm like, oh geez, what are we having for dinner tonight? Well, this is a great answer. Pork and beef meatballs that use only 3 ingredients, super easy to make, really tasty, and really versatile too. So the ingredients here are ground beef, salt, and ground Italian sausage meat. This is the meat that is found inside of Italian sausages, but it's packed loose. It kind of looks like a pink colored ground beef, and it has all those same Italian seasonings that you get in Italian sausage, but in this like loose sort of just ground form. So you can mix it with the ground beef and a little bit of salt, and you instantly have a tasty mixture for making meatballs. And just in case you're wondering, the reason that there is salt in there is because your ground beef is not seasoned. So the Italian sausage meat is seasoned. That is half of your meat mixture. But the ground beef, which is the other half of your meat mixture, it is not seasoned. So you're adding the salt for that. And I'll give you amounts in a second, but I'm just going to tell you that every brand of ground sausage meat is a little bit different. And so you probably want to mix this up and then test the meat mixture before you form your meatballs. And I will say that I do that in this recipe for sure, because, you don't know which ground sausage meat, if it's all the same or not. But I also do it almost any time that I'm doing anything with ground meat that is shaped or formed, like burger patties or meatballs or meatloaf, because you can't season into the inside after you've shaped them. So like if you're making a ground beef stroganoff, I have a great recipe for that. I will link to that. But if you are making a ground beef stroganoff or spaghetti, you have that ground meat frying away in your skillet, and as soon as it's not pink anymore, you give it a taste. If it needs more seasoning, you can add it. That's not the case with meatballs and meatloaf and these things. You shape them and then you cook them, and then you don't know if they taste good until the end. You can trust my recipe, but everybody's taste, how much salt they like, how much seasoning they like is different. So doing this test is really great. What you do is you're going to mix up the mixture, which I'm going to tell you how to make in a minute, and then you take a little amount of it. You want to make like a tiny burger patty that's like the size of a quarter, maybe about a quarter of an inch thick. And then you could do what my mom does. She takes a little frying pan and she fries it in the frying pan until it's not pink anymore. Or you could do what I do. I put it on a microwave safe plate in the microwave for like 20 seconds at a time until it's not pink in the middle anymore. And then you just kind of cut it open, let it cool a little bit, taste it. How is the seasoning? Now, this is of course not a full taste. You're not getting the browning that you get from cooking. This is just to taste the seasoning. And then after that taste, you can decide if you want to add a little bit more of anything to your mixture before you make your meatballs. Okay, so now the mixture that I am calling for here is a half pound of ground beef, a half pound of that Italian sausage meat, and a half teaspoon of salt. So you put your ground beef and your sausage meat into a large bowl, sprinkle it with the salt, and then use your hands to only just combine it, being careful not to overmix. Then you could do that little test that I just talked about. If you are happy with it, then you are going to shape it into 16 golf ball sized meatballs, and you arrange those on a lightly greased baking sheet. And yes, this recipe makes 16 meatballs. You can double it. You would use a pound of the ground beef and a pound of the Italian sausage meat and a teaspoon of salt. Now, I am baking these just because it's hands off and so easy, right? We're talking about a busy weeknight. You just want to relax and not be standing at the stove the whole time. But I will give you a link in the show notes for how to pan fry meatballs and also for how to air fry meatballs. Those are turkey meatballs, but the same concept applies. I'll put the links to pan frying meatballs and air frying meatballs in the show notes for you so that you can find those. You can also find them at the pork and beef meatballs recipe. The easiest way to get to that is to go to cookthestory.com/ROTD, and everything there is arranged by date. So you are looking for the episode from November 25th of 2025. That takes you to the recipe, and all those links are there as well. But yeah, so I'm baking these. So they are going on a baking sheet that you've lightly greased, and you have an oven preheated to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. That baking sheet of meatballs goes into there, and you're baking them until they are no longer longer pink inside, it's about 18 to 20 minutes. Then you turn on the broiler if you'd like, and you could put the meatballs just 6 to 8 inches from that heat source, and they're gonna brown a little bit, get a little crisp on top, just a few minutes. You can flip and brown the other side as well. That's up to you. Some people don't like a really crispy crust on their meatballs, so you wouldn't do this broiling step. As soon as they are no longer pink inside, they are ready. You can add them to some tomato sauce for spaghetti and meatballs. Ooh, I have a really great meatball stroganoff recipe that you could add them to. You could do them in a hoagie bun, like just some like meatball subs for dinner. They could be used for just about anything really, really tasty. Okay, I will put the link to the recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or like I said, head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. You are looking for the November 25th of 2025 episode that will take you to these easy pork and beef meatballs. I am Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, cookfor2.us, and this podcast recipe of the day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.